Hello. Today I am doing a little digital sketch. I'm not very experienced with digital art, but I wanted to just redo my profile picture, make it a little bit more artsy rather than just a photograph. I like the profile picture, but I'm an artist, so I should draw it or something. So, this is just me trying to get in some practice with my drawing software on my tablets. And the app that I'm using is called ArtRage. It's not a free app, but I think it was only something like $5, and it's not one of those apps where it's a subscription and you have to pay $5 a year or whatever. So $5, and I think I have it forever, and it's a pretty decent little app. It's not a very high resolution type thing. Like, I don't think I could paint something in here and then print it out at a decent size and have it look good. I haven't really tried to do that. But like I said, I'm not very experienced with digital art, period. But I do want to do it more because I think it's a really good way to sketch and experiment. And I really need to work on my proportions and portraits and figures. So I think I might just post sketches that I do in ArtRage videos. They're pretty easy to make because I have a screen capture recorder. And I don't know, I just have a fun time kind of playing around with things. So here you can actually see the reference photo. I was actually drawing it. I was looking at my phone while I was drawing on my tablet. So I decided just to email myself the photograph so I could continue. And I'm doing most of this with the pencil tool, but I'm kind of using it as a colored pencil just because, I've chosen a color for it. I kind of like the texture. I like drawing and having that pencil texture. I think that's what I kind of grew up using to draw, so I kind of like that. And I'm experimenting with color here. I want just a little splash of color in this picture. I don't want it to be just like all realistic colors. I want to have just a little bit of fun. As I said, I really see digital art as an opportunity to experiment and not feel pressured by wasting materials if it doesn't go the way I want. And also, it's just so easy to use layers in a way that helps you to preserve the drawing. So if I do the drawing right and I like it, but then I don't like the color applications I place on top, I can just delete those layers. So I'm getting pretty comfortable using layers and even thinking more in terms of layers when I do my watercolors and oil paintings. So it's definitely been a good experience branching out and experimenting with this other medium. My daughter does a ton of digital art, and she does all the fancy things like masking, clipping, multiplying. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm very, very basic when it comes to this. I've sort of played around with like the blend modes that you can apply to layers. This application does have stuff like that, just as Photoshop and other drawing software programs do. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me yet. I kind of just want to use this in the same way that I use traditional media, so, whatever. But you can see I'm definitely having fun kind of playing with different tints for the background just to see how that kind of impacts the overall picture. And then I decided to go in with some nice thick paint and do some glazing. That's one thing that I've kind of figured out with the digital art is that I can kind of create glazes just by setting up my brushes so that there is thinner in the, quote unquote paint, the digital paint. And so that to me is a little bit more like how I like to work in watercolor. I like using lots of glazes and building up my values. So that's what I'm doing here. One thing about digital painting that I find so weird is that these brushes will be called, like oil. I'm actually using an oil painting brush, but it doesn't to me seem anything like what I use oil paints for. I paint with oils in such a different way. I don't really do glazes when I paint with oils. I do that more with watercolor. And so far, the watercolor brush in this app, I really just don't like. It's too small. I feel like I can't do anything that I want to do typically with watercolors with that brush. So I've kind of left it alone lately and have been using lots of the other tools. You definitely, just as with traditional media, you kind of find your favorite brushes and your favorite way of painting, even with a digital app. But yeah, I really like this. I really like being able just to kind of experiment, and if I don't like something, I can just remove it and kind of push my style a little bit too, because I tend to be maybe a little too realistic, too tight when I paint in traditional media, and this really allows me to feel free to experiment. And I also like that I can change the order of the layers. So if I have a line layer and I decide maybe I'll move that on top and just see what happens, I think that's really fun. So that's what I'm doing here, just kind of moving line layers around and now playing with the background. And that's it. So I'm just going to crop it, and there's my new profile picture. One of these, I don't know.